City, A Dame to Kill For, which of course is the sequel to 2005's Sin City. That's right, a whole 9 years ago. Almost a decade has passed since that movie came out. Some people would say that movie is a classic at this point. It's been so long since it came out. I mean, I was a whole different person when I first saw that film a long time ago. I was like 15, I was goofy, I was dumb, and I loved it because it was just, I wouldn't say it was goofy or anything, but it had its goofy moments. But it was very dark in both visuals and subject matter. The style just was amazing. The stylized world and just the way everything looked and all the black and white and just the noirish look just really struck me at that time. I thought it looked amazing, and the cast of characters and the voice, I mean the actors themselves, everybody did a great job, and the characters were either very interesting, very likable, or just fun to watch. I love that film. Sin City is amazing, and I just rewatched it actually like a couple hours after I saw Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, because I just needed to watch that first movie again just to get, you know, just to have some context, because I haven't seen it in a very long time. So what did I think of the sequel, which sadly took 9 years to make and bombed big time at the box office? What did I think of this sequel? Well, let's talk about it with the story. Now, just like the original Sin City, this one is an anthology comic book film. Kind of like a Creepshow, where Creepshow, if you ever watch Creepshow, has a bunch of different stories in one. This is the same thing, except Creepshow is a horror film. This one's a comic book action, noirish detective story, in a way. So, the story for this film, there's actually 4 different stories in this, which is kind of cool considering the first movie had only 3, but the first one was longer, like running time, and it had 3 stories, so that means each story had enough time to develop. In this one there's 4 stories, and the movie's like 95, maybe an hour and 40 minutes long, so it's shorter time. But you know what really works is that 3 of the stories that we are presented here follow characters that we saw in the original Sin City, so we already know who those characters are, so you don't need to really develop them. Also, those 3 stories that we are seeing in this that follow characters from the original Sin City, they're short, they're sweet, and what I really like is that we get to know more about them before what happened in Sin City. Like, a couple of them are actually prequel stories to what happened in the original Sin City. Now, if I sat here and explained each one of the stories, then I'll be here forever. But let me just say, all 3 of the stories that follow characters from the original film, one of them is Just Another Saturday Night, which follows Marv, who is who's played by Mickey Rourke, who is the disfigured tough dude from the original film, who was looking for Goldie. I mean, looking for the killer of Goldie in the first film, if you remember that. The second story follows Dwight, which of course was played by Clive Owen in the first film, and in this movie it's a prequel. So he's played by Josh Brolin, and there is a reason why he looks completely different. They actually explained that, which is pretty good. They actually explained that in the original film, which I thought was really cool. And the third one follows Nancy, played by Jessica Alba, and of course Bruce Willis's character, Hartigan, from the original film. And they, of course, resolved that story, which was not really resolved complete. I mean, it was resolved, but they could have shown more of that story in the original film. And the only new story here is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Johnny, who is a gambler who wants to get back at someone. Let's just say that he's a gambler who has incredible luck and plays cards in the wrong card game. Let's just say that. All the other stories, if you really want to know what they are, you have to go and look them up yourself. I'll be here all day explaining each story. But let's just say all the stories either intertwine at a point, or at least characters start showing up in other stories that aren't theirs. Like, you'll see Mickey Rourke in pretty much every single one of these stories, which I thought was really cool, especially since his story is probably the shortest. So, you know, he has the shortest amount of screen time at first, but he does show up in other stories, which I thought was really cool. And he actually does stuff. He's not just sitting there drinking booze like in the first Sin City, where he shows up in some other story. He's just there drinking booze, watching Jessica Alba shake her butt. The one story I would say that I love the most is actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt's story, which is weird considering he's the only character that wasn't in the original Sin City, and his story is pretty simple. But what I really like is that it's extremely dark, and it has an ending that's just like, oh wow, just like, it just ends like, not in a good way. It's just really, and when I mean not in a good way, I just mean for the characters, not in like, oh, that was a terrible ending. No, it was a really good ending all the way through. It was very dark, very gruesome. You kind of liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you understood why he was doing what he was doing, and I just found it to be a very interesting story. The one I would say is the weakest is probably Nancy's story, even though she her story has a few good moments, especially with Mickey Rourke's character, Marv, of course. One of my favorite quotes in the film, Jessica Alba says, "It looks like trouble," and Marv goes, "Looks like Christmas," and pulls up 2 shotguns. Oh, so good. I love Marv in this film. And of course, the other 2 stories are really good too, especially Josh Brolin's story, which is the main crux of the plot, I would say. I would say a good 40 minutes was spent with his story, and it makes sense considering that his is actually called A Dame to Kill For. So that one makes sense that it spends most of its time with that one. Still, I really enjoyed all of the plots, even the one I thought was the weakest. I liked how they intertwined. I love the dark material, the fun subject matter at times. I really enjoyed Mickey Rourke in every single one of the stories. I thought he stole the film, in my opinion. And I thought Eva Green in The Dame to Kill For, she got really naked, and I thought she was really good in the role. She was evil. She did it in a very hammy way, but it very much worked with what was going on. It's a very violent movie all the way throughout, very dark. The style is still there. It's a really amazing looking film. I even think because the budget's a little bit bigger now, and of course the visual effects have upgraded since Sin City 1 came out, I think it actually looks a little bit better. There's just times where I was just like amazed on what I was looking at. I was just like, whoa, that looks incredible, just like a matte painting. Like, there's so many moments where you could pause the movie if you have it on Blu-ray or something. You could pause the movie and just go and just marvel at how beautiful some of the stuff is. It looks incredible, especially Eva Green naked. I mean, hey, I like it. Now, Jessica Alba doesn't get naked. That's bullshit. But Eva Green, I mean, she's a better actress, too. Jessica Alba's not even that good of an actress. She's actually probably the weakest actor in this film, and she doesn't even get naked. Well, what's up with that? What's up with that? So anyway, let me get back into professional mode. I really like this film. I thought it was really enjoyable all the way throughout. When it got to the action, it was a lot of fun. It was very well filmed. I thought it was very beautiful at times. The special effects, the style itself, it's just there. It's oozing style, and I love that. And the characters are really likable. Some of them maybe a little less so, but each of the stories and all of the characters, I would say, are interesting at least a little bit. Even if some of them aren't that interesting, they're at least somewhat interesting compared to some other films. Like, if you compared the least interesting character in this film to any character in the new Transformers film, I will say that character from Sin City is way more interesting. Like, I will tell you straight up. So overall, and also this is a whole hour shorter than Transformers. So I'm going to give this film, I'm going to give it a 32 out of 40. I really enjoyed Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For. You should definitely check it out. I mean, this is still a very original take to a comic book film, and you need to see it if you love comic book films. I mean, don't get me wrong, Marvel's amazing, and their movies are definitely better, but this is still a damn good movie. At least check out Matinee. Give your money to watch this film, and if you're not going to watch it in theaters, at least rent it. Put money to this film. I would love to see a Sin City 3, but there's no way in hell it's happening now, because it bombed huge, which sucks. But I still really enjoyed this film. I definitely recommend it, especially if you like Sin City 1. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Also, Powers Boothe in this film is a badass villain. Some really good villains in this film. Okay, just great acting all around, in my opinion, besides maybe Jessica Alba. That's the only one. So anyway, there you go. I give this a 32. I already said that. Thank you and goodbye.